This is my glow-in-the-dark cargo net. This is designed to make night loading much easier. It's a cargo net which is designed for a pickup truck and it glows at night. Let's have a look. Here is the corner, and I used a figure-8 knot to do the corner, and I put some shirt paint on the figure-8 knot. This is the white line is nylon rope. Now I've attached the net to the outside nylon rope using a top also knot and a wire attachment and then some electrical tape on top. You can see that's how it's done. And the nylon rope also has glow-in-the-dark shirt paint on it. The red line lets you identify the long side of the net. There you can see in the middle of the net there is a pink marker which is made by wrapping pink yarn around some of the net and also tying in some glow-in-the-dark beads. The idea of this pink marker is that so you can easily find the middle of the net. Sometimes it's a little confusing because the net just is a bunch of rope, but as soon as you see the pink marker, you know where the middle of the net is. This makes it easier to load with the net. That's the middle. And you can see there's lots of glow-in-the-dark material on the net. The net holes are relatively small so that the net doesn't tangle too much. This is some glow-in-the-dark gimp which has been knotted through the rope, and then I put some silicone caulking on top. It acts sort of like a glue. It's kind of like rubber. It sort of bounces. That's one way of doing it. You can see you sort of have to hang the net up and do it from both sides when you're putting silicone on. And this is the net from the bottom. You can see there's lots of glow-in-the-dark gimp on the net. Not on every connection, but on many of them. The gimp is a little bit stiff, and the yellow rope is polypropylene rope. You could use other rope, but polypropylene is very cheap. You can see that's what it looks like, and this is how I connected the ropes. They're not knotted. I put some wire through both ropes, and then I twisted, and then I hammered it flat. You can see like that. So it's essentially twisted and wrapped and hammered flat. You can find some way of doing it. I used an anvil to hammer it flat, so it has a twist, the pinching action of the twist, and also the squishing action of the wire being squished. Both of them hold the rope in place. It's quite a strong connection. Wire is stronger than rope. And then you need to put some electrical tape on top so it doesn't scratch your load. Just wrap a couple of wraps around there and then cut it off. You can use different colors to mark the net, or just use black, whatever you want. So the net can also be kind of marked with colorful tape, which can show you things about where you are on the net. So this is a figure-8 knot. This is for the corner. And this is nylon rope. Nylon rope is stretchy and it absorbs glow-in-the-dark shirt paint quite well. This is you putting the net over top of a single load. You can see the idea is that it just ties everything down. You can see I also wrapped the hose here. That's a good way of storing hose. And here I'm using a tie-down technique. You can sort of weave the line through the net, or you can tie off individually on each net link. So you can use lots of little tie-off lines, and these are supposed to tie off on the pickup truck or whatever you're using to transport your stuff. So that's the connection. It's just sort of winch tight. You're pulling down on the net, and that tightens the net, so the whole net gets very tight if you use this technique. So this is another technique of getting the gimp onto the net. This is a knot with a couple strands of glow-in-the-dark GIMP, and I used some cable ties to hold it in place. The knot is made through the rope, and then there's a cable tie on each side, and you just cut them off using side cutters. It's quite easy to do this. It takes a lot of glow-in-the-dark GIMP to make this net. The net actually gets quite heavy, which is actually good. So that's how I put the electrical tape onto the wires. So you just wrap it around, and that stops the wire from scratching stuff. Say if you have to move furniture or something like that, expensive furniture, you're moving from one place to another. So here is a simulation of how you would put the net over top of stuff on the pickup truck. You just sort of throw it over top and you spread it out, and that keeps everything tied down. You can have a bag for the net, like some kind of a backpack or some kind of a duffel bag, whatever you want, or a shopping bag, anything just to keep the net in place. And then you sort of stretch it out like this. You go from one side to the next and stretch it out. And you can see I put some hockey tape on the handles of the wheelbarrow. That works well too. And you can see there's the net. So if this were dark, you would just see the glowing GIMP and all the glow-in-the-dark material on the net, and then you can load it almost without a flashlight. So the idea is you just take the high-powered camera flash, put it on test function, and flash it a couple times, flash the net from close range, and then it'll glow for maybe a couple minutes relatively brightly. So this is another net. This net was made using nylon rope and then a lot of glow-in-the-dark shirt paint. You can see I have it on a spool, so it'll just wind right off. This is an easy way to store your cargo nets. It's just on a spool, and the spool is just cut out of plywood. And there's some electrical tape on the handle. You can see it's not hard to do this, but it's a really nice way to store the net, because it just wraps on and wraps off. So this net has bigger holes. There's a problem with bigger holes is because the net tends to tangle a little bit. So you want relatively smaller holes. But you can see it's the same idea. Again, it glows. It gets flashed with a high-powered camera flash, then it glows, and then you can just put it right over top of your cargo that you're tying down, and it keeps everything nice and safe. So here, this connection was done using some very strong nylon string. Now I am going to untangle the net. You can see the net is a little bit tangled, and I'm spreading it out so that it's easier to use. Now I'm going to show you the spool. I cut this spool out of plywood and used a jigsaw and a rotary tool with a sanding bit in order to smooth out the sides. This type of a spool can be used to store the cargo net, and it also works well for anchor lines on small boats. Now I'm going to take the net and I'm going to put it over top of a simulated load. You can see again I marked the middle of the net because it's easier to secure the load and place the net accurately over the load when you know where the middle of the net is. Now I'm just spreading the net out and I'm arranging it how I want it. You can see these holes, there's yarn wrapped around the middle of the net, in this case pink yarn, to mark the middle of the net. If the holes are too big and your load has smaller pieces on it, then the smaller pieces of your load can slip through the net. This is why I like a net with smaller holes. It seems to work better. The glow-in-the-dark shirt paint gets a little stiff in the cold weather. And this is put on top of nylon rope. nylon holds the shirt paint quite well. This is braided nylon rope. So you can see here I'm starting the wrapping process. I just took a corner or a part of the net and I just start wrapping it. It's very easy to do this. Just keep going around. You can twist the net as you're wrapping it, or you can just keep rotating the spool. Either technique works quite well. It's not very neat, but it keeps the net, it makes the net compact, and it also keeps the net from getting really tangled. And those are both good things. So you can see the middle of the net here, it's the pink part. I'm just twisting the spool and wrapping the net onto the spool. The spool and net can then be put in some kind of a bag, a backpack, a duffel bag, or even a shopping bag, whatever you want. That keeps everything nice and neat and contained and organized. You can see there is a net. Now if I want to use it, I just unwind the spool and the net comes right off. I could have used wire with this net. That would have probably been even better. So now I am spreading out the net. There's the middle, and you can see this is a corner. It has fluorescent green yarn wrapped around it so I can easily spot the corner, and there's also some glow-in-the-dark shirt paint on the yarn. So I can easily identify where the corners are and where the middle of the net is. Here's the middle of the net wrapped in fluorescent pink yarn. Thanks for watching and have a great day.